Lolly lives in a city near Seoul and felt scared when she saw a strange gate appear over Gangnam. But learning about hunters going on dates and enjoying life made her feel a little better and hopeful. Same. I wish the news would stop talking about the gate. Hunter Sung and Hunter Chan, please do something about that big gate or whatever it's called. President Baek of the White Tiger Guild shook his head as he put down the newspaper. That explained why Hazing looked at Jinwoo differently than at other people. The news story wasn't what bothered him. This headline is really silly. What does ultimate power couples even mean? Manager. And noticed the president was annoyed. What's wrong with it, sir? Those two people seem like they deserve that title. It doesn't matter who Hunter Sung is with. They would still be the most powerful pair. This news story doesn't make much sense. After thinking about who Jinwoo could be with, Songmin had to agree. Even if Jinwoo dated that young hunter who was still in high school, they would be very hard to defeat. Mostly because Jinwoo was incredibly strong. You are right, President Baek. I told you. Songmin nodded, and took a drink of his coffee. He looked out the window. Oh dear, the air pollution seems to be getting worse. I'm almost afraid to open a window anymore. Sangmin frowned and started to close the slightly open window, but President Baek stopped him with his hand. Wait. What? President Baek opened the window wide and held out his hand. This isn't just dust. The haze covering Seoul wasn't the usual pollution, but a very cold mist. How strange, he thought. It was fall, so it shouldn't be this cold. President Baek shivered and looked out the window, using his special ability to see clearly. I feel like something isn't right. Jinwoo woke up before Hein. She must have been very tired from the day before, because she didn't move. When had he last woken up next to someone like this? Jinwoo carefully stood up and walked into the woods. It was somewhere around here. He washed his face and hands in the stream. He had found the last time he was there. As he walked back to Hein, he suddenly stopped. He noticed something interesting. It was a young tree with new buds growing. This wasn't unusual, but the leaves weren't green. They were a bright shiny silver color. It was completely different from anything else on Earth. It gave off a tiny bit of magical energy, so small that almost no one could sense it, except for Jinwoo. This tree did not come from this world, because its magical energy felt different. He knew it wasn't a magical creature. Jinwoo looked closely and saw more shiny leaves growing from the ground nearby. They looked very different from the leaves on the other trees, which were starting to turn brown and dry. The soil, it was changing too. Was this something the rulers had planned all along? Jinwoo wondered if this was because of the magical creatures. He scooped up some dirt, smelled it, and rubbed it between his fingers before letting it drop. He could still sense a small amount of magic in the ground. The world was already full of magical energy, and people might be the only ones who don't know it. Just then, Jinwoo felt that Hyen was awake. He brushed off his hands. Even though the changes happening were a little scary, he had something more important to think about right now. Making sure Hyen knew he hadn't disappeared during the night. He didn't try to be quiet as he walked toward her, and she breathed a small sigh of relief when she saw him. He smiled and greeted her. Did you sleep well? For some reason her face turned red, and she looked away when she answered.
Yes.
When Jinwoo looked at her with a confused expression, she slowly looked back at him. Where did you go? Jinwoo took off the towel around his shoulders and began to dry his wet hair. I went to wash my face. He realized she probably wanted to clean up too, because even a little bit of wind from the ocean left salt on your skin. But he didn't think it was right for her to wash up in a place like this. Jinwoo smiled when he thought of a way they could both get clean and have something to eat. I know a hotel with a really good breakfast close by. Would you like to eat there? Hyen didn't say anything, but she nodded. Yes. Jinwoo offered his hand to help her stand, and then called for Kazel.
Pretty.
Kazem looked curiously as Kazel opened his wings. Didn't you say it wasn't far? It would take me around 5 minutes to get there, if I ran as fast as I can. Should we run together? 5 minutes at Jinwoo's top speed. Hyen climbed onto Kazel without saying anything else. She learns things quickly, which is good. Jinwoo sat down in front of her, and Kazel flew up into the sky. People in Korea often saw Kazel on television, but what would the hotel workers in Japan think when they saw a real dragon? Jinwoo worried the chef wouldn't be too upset as Kazel walked toward the hotel. It seemed to appear suddenly. The first person to see it was a man around 40 leaving the Hunters Association building after being tested as a strong awakened being. Thump. He stopped because it seemed to appear right in front of him and bumped his shoulder. What? The man looked up, following the shadow on the ground, and found himself face to face with a very large man who was almost 7 feet tall. He was wearing leather clothing and looked wild, almost like an animal. He was very large, and people noticed him and another man right away. Are they going to fight? Someone asked. That man is so big. Even Dongwook Mao might have trouble, another person said. Is the older man thinking clearly? Someone else wondered. Is he trying to get hurt? With so many people looking at him, the man felt like everything around him had become very quiet. Usually he would say he was sorry and leave. But he was feeling different now. The man who used to try too hard to please his bosses and was ignored by those who worked under him was different now. He was a powerful awakened being, ranked at D level. D level hunters were very strong. He didn't need to be nice to this ordinary person, who seemed to think it was okay to bully others. Just because he was bigger. He carefully set his briefcase down and spoke with confidence. Hey, you should say you're sorry when you bump into someone. His heart started beating fast, and he could feel a strange energy moving through him. It felt like his body was waking up, reminding him he was alive. It was time for him to begin his new life as a hunter. The strong man stood still and quiet, seeming calmer because of the other man's bravery, feeling hopeful because of how his opponent reacted. The older man kept talking. Do you think this is finished if you just stand there? When you do something wrong, you should admit it and ask for forgiveness. Ouch. The large man quickly grabbed the other man by the head and lifted him off the ground, causing the people watching to yell, The man's head started to look strained as the large man squeezed tightly. A large animal. Was it a bear or a tiger? What kind of hunter, like a lion, shark, alligator, or snake, could make people so afraid? The human felt a strong natural fear when facing a powerful creature. He was so scared he lost control. Oh no, then there was blood and broken glass everywhere. Crash. Blah. But the attacker didn't stop. He began to quickly eat the body lying on the ground. He's eating him. Wow, what is he doing? The man finished eating very quickly. He wiped pieces of flesh from his mouth as he stood up straight. His eyes showed he was not thinking clearly. They were clearly the eyes of a large animal. Some people ran away shouting, but many stayed to watch the animal's wild show. The animal roared at the crowd in a language no one understood.
Listen, people.
From now on, I will hunt you. Tears ran down the faces of people who were shaking with fear, frozen by the loud roar. The animal's sharp teeth were easy to see, making him look powerful and important. I will tear your skin with my teeth and claws. It was the king of animals. The Fang monarch growled, his loud roar shaking the whole street. Try to stop me if you can. President Wu heard about the scary creature that suddenly appeared in the middle of Seoul. How many people were hurt? It's hard to say how many people are affected right now. The creature was first seen in the Myeongdong area, and was moving in a straight line, harming everyone it saw. If it keeps going this way, it's going towards the Hunters Association. President Wu bit his lip, and squeezed his hands into fists. We are already very busy dealing with the gate. Where did this monster even come from? But we can't panic now. We need to focus on stopping it. What about Hunter Sung? We can't get in touch with him. That's terrible, said President Wu. He just learned that the monster destroyed one of the groups sent to fight it. The only good thing was that it was moving slowly, almost as if it was waiting for something. But it was clear that more people would be hurt badly if they couldn't stop it. It was the worst problem that they couldn't reach their strongest weapon. If he had to, he would help. He clenched his jaw, determined, and then he heard good news. Mr. President. Jin Chul quickly stood up when an employee ran into the room without knocking. Were you able to contact Hunter Sung? Not yet, sir. We just found out a famous hunter is nearby, and plans to fight the monster.
What?
Who? It's Leonard. The strongest hunter in Germany felt the monster getting closer, as it left a trail of blood. Can I really do this? As a hunter, he couldn't ignore people who needed help. Leonard was 12th best in the world, according to the Hunter Command Center's rankings. He felt good knowing people were relieved to see him, because it meant they felt safe. It wasn't about if he was able to help them. He knew he had to. It was Leonard's job as a hunter. Maybe it was just luck that he was in Seoul when the monster appeared. He looked serious and opened a few buttons on his shirt before walking toward the beast. Then a deep voice spoke from behind him. "Let me handle this." Just as Jinwoo found a place with cell phone service, his phone began to ring repeatedly. Was it the Hunters Association? He looked at the caller ID with a frown. Had something bad happened while he was gone? He answered his phone quickly. "I'm Hunter Sung." "Yes, this is Jinwoo Sung," Jinwoo said carefully. The other person sounded worried. "What is it?" Well, the president will explain it to you. I will connect you to him right away." Jinwoo understood. This was a very serious problem, because the president needed to be involved directly. He waited for Jinshul to answer the phone. Jinshul answered quickly and spoke fast. "Hunter Sung, why were you so hard to reach? I didn't have a signal until just now. The forest had many problems because of the frequent dungeon openings, so it was almost impossible to get a cell phone signal there." Jinwoo didn't think there would be trouble, because he had placed a protector with everyone he cared about. But a large gate had opened unexpectedly. It wasn't supposed to open for at least 2 more days. Jinwoo quickly thought about what could have happened, and before he could ask, Jinshul explained the emergency. A monster is attacking, and causing damage in the city. Jinwoo had been feeling refreshed after a short rest, but now he felt worried. How many magical creatures are there? Not a group. Just one. Only one. Hunters from all over Korea were in Seoul, and they were very anxious about a possible opening from the huge gate. The group had also given weapons to hunters who needed them. But they still couldn't defeat a magical creature that suddenly appeared. Jinwoo listened with confusion as Jinshul kept explaining. A team of hunters tried to fight it and were quickly defeated. It doesn't seem like a normal magical creature. Where is it? It's near the Grand Hotel in Seoul. Could this just be a random event? He felt nervous when he heard the name of the hotel Thomas Andre was staying at. He felt worried, and his worry turned out to be true when Jinshul told him with concern, "I just learned Hunter Andre is fighting it." That didn't make sense. Jinwoo had left a shadow soldier with Thomas, just in case, and told him to immediately send a signal if anything seemed strange. He hadn't heard anything from the soldier even though Thomas had fought a creature that destroyed an entire group of fighters. Wait a second. Something didn't seem right. The messages from his soldiers in Seoul were very faint, as if something was blocking them. What was happening? A very strong new enemy, a powerful hunter fighting it, and a lot of blocked messages. Could it be? Jinwoo asked Jinshul as an idea came to him. "President Wu, does that monster have a shadow?" "What did he say?" "I need to know if that monster has a shadow." Jinshul was quiet for a moment before quickly answering his question. "Oh my goodness, you are right, Hunter Sung. I just saw a picture that proves the monster doesn't have a shadow. That's bad." Remembering that the ice elf who attacked President Go also didn't have a shadow, Jinwoo shouted, "Don't let Thomas fight that monster. Thomas Andre was likely the one the monster was after all along. What's wrong?" But he was already. Time was very important. Jinwoo didn't need to hear more. He tried to switch places with the soldier who was with Thomas. A message like a hologram appeared with a loud warning. It said the soldier couldn't be found. Jinwoo tried several more times, but it said the same thing each time. It kept saying the soldier couldn't be found. How could this be happening? Jinwoo was very surprised. His shadow soldier was gone. He had carefully placed the soldier to use a special ability called Shadow Exchange, but now it had disappeared. Jinwoo couldn't feel where the soldier was at all. He knew for sure that the link between him and the soldier watching Thomas was broken. It felt similar to when Jinwoo sent a soldier away. A shadow soldier had been destroyed. Jinwoo was confused and asked out loud, "What is happening?" A deep voice came from behind Lennart. "Move out of my way." Lennart felt like this had happened before, but he reacted very differently this time. Thomas Andre. He was happy to see the man who was so big. He seemed to block out the sun. Thomas walked past Lennart, and even people who were screaming and running stopped to look. They recognized the famous hunter from America. "He's that American hunter too, Thomas. Goliath. It's Goliath." Even Lennart, a strong hunter himself, felt his heart beat faster as he watched Thomas walk forward. The people who had been running away from the monster were very happy. Yes, thank goodness for Thomas. Some people fell to the ground, their legs too weak from relief. Thomas shouted at the hunters who were frozen by the monster's strong power. "Don't just stand there. Get everyone out of here." A very experienced hunter shouted, snapping them to attention. People who understood English quickly began helping the remaining civilians leave, and Leonard joined in. Thomas stood in the middle of the road trying to stop the creature as it slowly came closer. Thomas took off his sunglasses and looked closely at it. The creature was covered in blood. It looked a little like a person, but it was definitely not human. Thomas frowned when he saw pieces of the creatures it had attacked scattered around. This creature had gone too far. As if laughing at Thomas's anger, the creature showed its sharp teeth, which were red with blood, and had bits of flesh stuck to them. A dangerous animal should be stopped, right? Thomas stared coldly at the creature. Enforcement. His muscles became very strong and hard, and he already looked large, but now he grew even bigger. Now larger than the beast, the man called Goliath rushed forward to see how strong he was, compared to the creature. People watching Thomas from far away thought he looked like a tank, and they felt the ground shake with every heavy step he took. The beast licked his lips when he saw this new opponent, and then he moved forward too. The two large men quickly stood facing each other. They looked each other over for a moment before both of them, who were strong enough to break concrete easily, started throwing punches powered by magic. Pow, 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 pow. The other hunters were amazed by how strong they were. A strong punch could seriously hurt either of them, but both the creature and Thomas kept hitting each other without trying to protect themselves. Thomas believed he could keep going. Boom! His next punch made the creature's head turn to the side. It felt good to land a hit with his left hand. Thomas felt a little less sure of himself after his fight with Jin Woo, but he quickly focused again. He threw punch after punch at the beast, pushing it back step by step. Then, with one big powerful punch, he knocked it to the ground. The beast crashed backwards, sliding across the road and cracking the pavement. It finally slammed into a building, stopping there. The people watching the fight were excited, but Thomas wasn't happy. The attack wasn't as strong as he hoped it would be. He could still feel the creature was angry. Even under the broken pieces of the building, metal flew through the air like fast rockets, shooting out from the thick cloud of dust around them. Thomas quickly moved away from the cars speeding toward him. Then, using his special ability called gravitation, he pulled the struggling creature closer. Whoosh! As soon as the creature was right in front of Thomas, the hunter used his strongest power. Demolish. Thomas's arm muscles grew bigger and bigger, looking like they might break through his skin. He hit the ground hard with both fists. Boom! A strong shockwave hit the creature. Ouch! The creature was thrown into the air and fell down roughly. Quickly Thomas jumped on top of it and hit it many times with a powerful attack. Pow! 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 Yes! The people who were worriedly watching the fight between Goliath and the creature shouted with joy. The other hunters were all smiling widely. It looked like the fight was over from where everyone was standing. Thomas had clearly won, just as everyone expected from such a strong and skilled hunter. But even though he was winning, Thomas started to feel really nervous. He was sweating, even though he had his opponent almost beat. Something felt wrong. The closer he got to winning, the more worried he became, like something was squeezing his throat. Each punch landed exactly where he aimed, and the creature wasn't fighting back, but Thomas still felt strange, even though he was winning the fight. Then he understood it was the creature's eyes. They hadn't changed during the whole fight, not even showing a reaction to the hits. It almost seemed like the beast wanted Thomas to try even harder. Angry about this, Thomas raised his fists high above his head. Thomas's shoulder muscles grew as a lot of magical energy filled his shoulders, arms and hands. This would definitely win the fight. Could the creature survive a direct hit from Demolish? Thomas swung his arms down with all his strength. Demolish. He noticed the moment his opponent blinked, and his eyes changed from human eyes to beast eyes. The large creature easily stopped Thomas's strongest attack with just one hand. Thomas felt a shiver go down his back as he looked at his hands, which wouldn't move. That's a strong display of power for something controlled by a piece of the broken object. Thomas frowned when he heard sounds like growls. What? That was when the creature's dark hair turned white and started to grow. His nails became claws, his teeth became sharp, and white fur covered his whole body. Was it a werewolf? But no one had ever seen a white werewolf in the last 10 years. What are you? Thomas felt scared by the huge amount of magical power in front of him. Instead of answering, the beast squeezed tighter, and the bones in Thomas's hands broke. Crack. Ush. Everyone was surprised to hear one of the strongest hunters in the world yell in pain. A news helicopter flew above, filming Thomas as he struggled with pain. A famous hunter began tracking a monster that appeared in Seoul, a city that everyone was watching, because of a huge mysterious gate. It was hard to believe the hunter was now losing. But how? Everyone watching the fight, either in person or on a screen, desperately hoped it wasn't over. But their hopes were crushed when the beast grabbed Thomas by the wrist and slammed him to the ground. Bang! This time, the beast was on top of Thomas. Ugh! The man called Goliath tried to fight back with his injured hand, coughing up blood, but he couldn't compete with the beast's powerful form. The beast pressed Thomas's head to the ground, and let out a loud howl toward the sky. Grawas. The frightening sound hurt everyone's ears and echoed across the city like thunder.